Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of the Craftsman Lawn Mower that we got running on part 1. So it turns out, if you saw part 1, the mower had a hole in the gas tank and the seller gave me an extra tank with a carburetor on it. So I used the extra tank that he gave me. Well, that turns out to leak also. So we're back to using the tank from the original tank. We're back to using the original tank on this. And the only hole that I found, as I showed you on part 1, was over here. And the rest of the tank seems pretty solid. And I looked inside, there's a little rust at the bottom of it. So I cleaned it up pretty good. But this seems like it'll hold up okay if we JB Weld this. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to JB Weld this. I've done it on like a few tanks. I never had a comeback with it. You know, some tanks are just rotted out so bad that you just want to get another tank for it. But I think this tank here will work out pretty good. So what I'm going to be using today is I'm going to be using JB Weld. And I like using the original formula. They do have like a quick drying JB Weld formula now. I don't know. Maybe it was just me. I didn't have much luck with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a batch of this original formula here. And I'm going to let it dry for like 24 hours like they suggest. But I usually let it dry for longer. And at the looks of the weather this week, it looks like it's going to rain again. This is like part 1 was the first day where I could work on this without it raining, but it looks like it's going to start raining again tonight into tomorrow. So there's no rush on this. And what I'll do is I'll let that dry real good, and then I'm going to paint the tank black. And another thing I did so far is it has the top cover, the plastic cover. It goes on the shroud. So I took and I cleaned that up real good, and I'm going to paint that also. Appearance means a lot when you're selling the mower. You want to try and make it look as nice as possible. Next thing I want to do also is I'm going to take off the shroud. I'm going to take that off and make sure it's clean in there, or clean it or whatever, and I'll probably spray this too. And once we have the tank off, I'll paint the engine and I'll clean up the whole deck, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this up here. The wind is starting to kick up again now, which is not good. This is not good, but we're going to do a 50-50 mixture here. This in the black over here is the steel, and then in the red here is the hardener. So we're going to do a 50-50 mix with that. Let me make sure you can still see me. Yeah, you can. Alright, so we're going to try to get this done real quick for today, and then we'll continue on this same video. This seems more than enough. So I'm just going to take a screwdriver here and just give this a real good mix. try to pack it into the hole here, pretty much. This doesn't have to be a real neat job because I made too much of this, but we'll just smear it around under here. Because we're going to paint it, and this is the underneath of the tank so nobody sees it. So appearance doesn't matter as long as you cover the hole. Here. I don't see anywhere else where it might leak, but I'm just going to hit some other spots here that are a little discolored. As soon as I made, you know, as long as I made way too much of it, can't hurt. And then what I'll do is I'll leave this cardboard off to the side, and then you can see if the JB Weld on a cardboard's solid, you know, dry, then you know it's really dry on the tank also. I'm going to overlap it over here a little bit where the hole was. AJP garden machines. Yeah, if you watch this video, because I noticed you had a problem with something, you were using the JB Weld, and this is how this is the formula, this is how I use it. I don't know if you had something in the tube, I forgot what you had that you were using. So if you watch this video, AJP, this is what I use. And that's pretty good. We got it covered good. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a real neat job. You don't even see it. The important thing is that you cover the hole, you know? So, okay, so I'll let this dry overnight. And then we'll continue on the same video with the other things that I mentioned I wanted to do to the machine. It's been 48 hours since I put the JB Weld on here, and it's dried up pretty good. What happened was the last 2 days it rained, so I couldn't do anything anyway. And another thing about the JB Weld, that once it dries, it's sandable. You can sand it down, but like I said, this is the bottom of the tank, so we're not going to worry about that. And another thing with the JB Weld, I've used it on small engines. They were like porous and they started leaking oil, like they were a little cracked, and I've JB welded them and they've worked out fine. The only thing about the JB Weld is you want to stay away from the exhaust system area with it, because it will melt. It could only withstand so much heat, which I forgot with the temperature of heat it could withstand. And also what I did so far was the blade was no good, so I took my chances and went up to Walmart, and they had like a few left, so I went and bought them. And what this is it's a universal blade that will fit, you know, just about any machine, and it comes with these adapters and stuff, so you would just pick the adapter that you would need to bolt it to your mower. And what I do is I save all the rest. Sometimes you just use, well, all the time you just use one adapter, and then I'll save the rest in my trusty coffee can here with all different adapters and everything. So I had one in there already that fits this machine here. So I'll just take this whole package and just throw it in the coffee can, and I just keep all that stuff around all the time. Now another problem that I ran into with this, oh by the way, the blade was $16 with the tax, so we're still under $20 with this build here. Another thing, you know, about the shut-off cable, one big problem is the sticker that has the model number and everything on here is half gone. I don't know if I'll be able to do it by the engine number. I don't really remember, but the guy up the street from me here, Barg's Lawn and Garden, he's pretty good. He helps me out really good. He goes above and beyond to try to get me the right part. But I still haven't looked. I want to see if I may have a used cable that we can use on this. I'm really not sure yet. So I took the old blade off so far. I mean, it's gone on both sides here. But I'm going to bolt the new blade on it anyway. Because I want to warm the engine up real good before I change the oil in it. So as it stands right now, even with the oil change and the new blade, we're still around 20 bucks, a little under 20 bucks on it. And I'm going to get set up to where I could I'm going to pull the top cover off here and clean everything out. I'll probably take the magneto off, clean the contacts on that, and clean the flywheel. So I'll get set up. I'll be back in a couple seconds. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take the bolts out that hold the dipstick tube in, and you'll be using a 1/4 inch socket on that. So we'll undo. This one has 2 bolts on it. They usually have 1, so this one has 2. And next we're taking off the 3 bolts that hold the whole housing on, and you'll be using the 3/8 socket on that. Well, we don't want to take a chance on breaking it. Let's see if the others will come loose. That one don't want to come loose. I mean, if worse comes to worse, I'm not going to take the shroud off. Oh no, I really have to get it off. I'm going to see if I can spray it with some blaster or something, and we'll get that one loose. Let me take the other 2 off for now. Because the cover definitely has to come off. But we don't want to break the bolt off in there though either. This is going to be another stuck one. Yeah, I'm just going to have to keep spraying it, working the bolts in and out, and then I'll be back to you. These are the problems that you run into. Okay, so I was able to take some WD and spray it through this top slot here where the plastic cover goes over the shroud. And I just worked the bolt back and forth here. And you have to be careful with that too, because you don't want to overheat the bolt. You just want to take your time and do it. And I went back and forth, and it finally started coming out more and more. And I got all the bolts out now, so I'll take this cover off and see what it looks like underneath. It's not as bad as it could be. So try to take a good look at the flywheel too. I'm just gonna start that wire. I'm gonna take and paint this too also, the cover. Just give it a quickie paint job. Yeah, I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit and see if I can get these bolts out. If they look like they're gonna be a problem, I'm just gonna have to leave it. But in the meantime, I'm gonna blow this all out. I took the carburetor and gas tank assembly off because we have to switch tanks again. So what I'll do is I'll take and degrease everything, paint the engine before we put the carburetor back on it too, because it'll be easier to clean and to paint. So let's do that. I'll check out and see about the magneto, if I can get that off without any problem. I think they're 1/4-inch socket you're going to need on those, pretty sure. From the looks of it, doesn't look too promising, but you never know. Sometimes these just don't get stuck. That one's loose. That one came loose pretty easily. This one was loose altogether. I hope it's not broke off. Will it tighten up? Yeah, it tightens up. Wow, that was loose. This bolt here holding the magneto on, and the governor flapper here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take the magneto off, and I'll show you how I clean them. So when I'm cleaning these, I use the bench grinder. And what you're going to want to do is just hold it sideways, like this, as you're putting it towards the wheel. Otherwise, what happens is somebody cleaned this side of the magneto, I noticed. And there's these slats here. There's a whole bunch of different slats that are just bonded together here. And if you do it this way, you can separate all these slats in here, or whatever they're called. I can't think of the right name right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this off on the grinder on this side and a little bit on this side. And I'll clean the flywheel magnet to where it makes the contact. And I'll be back to you. Okay, so you want to get your flywheel around to the magnetic part. And you're going to know it because the magneto is going to want to cling to it. And so once the magneto clings to that, you're going to pull the bolt holes here or slot it in the magneto. So you can pull the magneto all the way back, and then you're going to tighten up your bolts, and then you're going to take a business card and stick it in between the magneto and the flywheel here. Okay? And then you're going to take your 1/4-inch, sorry, I'm trying to just hold this and do it. Now you're just going to loosen these bolts here, the mounting bolts for the magneto. Just loosen them both. It's harder to show you because it's got this governor flapper on here. And then what's going to happen is the magneto is going to clink to the flywheel like it just did. It just moved. And I hope you caught that because I'm trying to... Okay, now the other side just went right, you know, just went right to the magneto. It went. And then your space between the magneto and the flywheel, or coil if you will, I used to always call it a magneto. Okay, and then you want to tighten these down, and then what you're going to do is, you know, like I said, make sure your spark plugs wire is disconnected here, which it is. And then you're just gonna, I'm gonna have to use 2 hands. You just turn this flywheel and slide your card out, and it's adjusted, and it's as easy as that. And the coil is marked. You can't put it on upside down. So this says this side out, so it means you have to have that facing you. So now I was telling you to clean up the coil with the bench grinder. I meant to use the wire wheel side of the bench grinder. To be on the safe side, you could just take some sandpaper or emery paper and you can clean it up that way. Anyway, I degreased the engine and the whole machine here. And over here there was a little, it's like a little pit, but it didn't go through. I just scraped it with the screwdriver. And I just painted over that a little bit. But it's all nice and clean now and everything. And I still have to see if I have a cable for it. I'm not really sure if I have a cable for this, for the shut off. And I put a brand new spark plug in it. I got the blade back on, you know, I put the blade back on, the new blade for now, because I want to run it before I change the oil on it. Okay, so now what I want to do now is I want to adjust these height adjustments. You always want to make sure the height adjusters work when you're selling these, and these don't, they're all seized. So we're just going to do one. I'll just go over how I do it. We'll go over one of them. And the wheels, well, kind of seized, so what I'll do is I'll clean up the axle too and lube up the axle and everything before we put the wheel back on. Okay, so of course the first thing you want to do is take the wheel off. And I'm using a 9/16 socket to get the wheel off. Yeah, it's stuck on. It's pretty stuck. Whole bunch of rust and crud in here and everything. So I'm going to be using Blaster. I use Blaster to spray down in here. Now what I do is I open up the vice grips so you can just grab this whole I think they'll open up enough to do this, I'm not sure, I forgot. Yeah. Then you're going to pull the handle out because this is where it latches on here, the height. And then you're just going to keep working it back and forth until it works easy. I've had them to where it was like impossible even after I sprayed Blaster on it. And what you could do is you could take a 9/16 wrench and put it on the inside here and loosen this here, and then you can, once you loosen that up, then you can spray it and keep working it back and forth until it works right. I've done that before. I've had to do that before. Just keep working it till it's easy. Let's give it another little spray. You'll see in there where it pivots, where you want to put the spray. You know, like overkill too. That loosens it up too. I think that'll be good. That's good. And the Blaster will keep working in there too. And then, like I said, I'm going to clean up the axle before I put the wheel back on it, lubricate that, and that's it. And that's all there is to that portion. I did the rest of the wheels on this, the height adjusters. Sprayed them up real good, got them working real nice. Took the die grinder with the sander disc attachment, and I did the axles, and I lubricated all the axles and everything so the wheels spin freely. I put the gas tank back on, which seems to be holding up pretty good. I started it up once already and made sure that everything was adjusted okay, the governor and everything. And as you saw, I painted the engine. You know, I degreased it. I painted this cover that goes on top. I couldn't save the Briggs & Stratton emblem. I tried. It was just falling off, and you couldn't even read it, barely read it. There's one more thing that I did here that I really didn't want to do. Figures this is stuck on here now. Give me 1 second. I told you the shut-off cable wasn't even there anymore. I did something that I really didn't want to do, but I've done it on a few different mowers before. So what I did was I took a kill switch here, and what I did was I took this bracket off, and for one thing, the brake that hits the flywheel, well, the lining fell off that. It was just laying in there. So this whole thing was no good to begin with, and I don't have an extra one. So I figured I would just put a kill switch on it. What I did was I ran a wire from the kill wire that goes to the coil, and I ran it back here, and I put the one end on the inside here. I put it on the the toggle switch, and then I took and I put a ground. All you need is a ground wire to the toggle switch, and I just grounded it here on the side here, so it's on and then it's off when you pull it back. Another thing, I wanted to take the muffler off and try to freshen it up, but as usual, this one bolt down here, I wasn't about to try to break it off, so I just left it alone. I just want to go over what I put into this. Now, you could buy mowers that are self-propelled and whatnot that only need like a carburetor cleaning and an oil change, and maybe a blade, well, definitely a blade sharpening, and to clean it all up and everything. And sometimes you could pay like $50 for them. But a self-propelled mower with the bagger, if you could get one for $50, you could sell it easily for $150. Well, around here anyway. Also, I just want to go over what I put into this. This machine here was for demonstration purposes only, really, because I'm not going to see much money out of this. But normally I would have between 6 and 10 mowers to sell, and like I said, I would get good deals like on self-propelled mowers. So I would take the time, being that this has a classic engine on it and the deck is good. It's a very good mower. So okay, so what we have into this is the mower costed me $10. The blade, I think I said before, it was $17. And then you have the motor oil and air filter. I figured that to be $5. I could buy like Rust-Oleum black paint, like the glossy, and that's like $5 or $6 a can. So what I do is I buy this. This is a Walmart brand, and it goes on nice, it dries quick, and it's glossy, and I've been using this for years, and it's $1 for this. And this is the new air filter we're going to be putting on, and I put a brand new spark plug in it. So we have 10 for the mower, the blade 17, oil and air filters like $5. I figured $1 for the paint. The spark plug was a couple of bucks, $2 I figured it to be. The only thing I didn't figure was the brake clean and the blaster and WD-40 that I used. So let's just say I have $40 into this. It'll be I'm going to ask $90 for it, but it'll be a miracle if somebody gives me $90 for it. But I won't take less than $80 for it. It's definitely worth $80. So I think I have about 3 to 3.5 hours into redoing this mower here. Oh, and another thing too, the pull cord is in great shape. So if you could cut corners by not changing that, because I was going to change it originally. I have to, when I go to put the cover on it, I have to just anchor it, the pull start, to this bracket here. And I'm not going to do that yet because I want to warm it up real good. I still have to change the oil on it. And that's it for this build here. And I hope you got, I hope somebody got something out of it. But you have to take the good and the bad, you know. Like, I had to put so much work into this, and like I said, you could probably pick up some mowers for like 50 bucks and make like $100 on them without doing much. But you have to take the good and the bad with it. Unfortunately, last year with the COVID, the flea market was closed. Nobody wanted you to go to their house to buy anything, you know. It was just tough, you know. So this year I'm going to try to accumulate mowers again to fix up and sell again. So I hope this helps somebody out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.